A prime Todd Gurley was one of, if not the best running back in the NFL at one point. Him being a guy that can run between the tackles, outside the tackles, pass protect, and catch out of the backfield made him a cornerstone of the LA Rams, as well as one of the more dynamic backs we've seen in recent memory. He was the engine behind the Rams team that went on to play in the Super Bowl and was this close to potentially winning it. Since then, the Rams, and especially Todd Gurley, haven't been the same. And now, at the age of 27, Todd Gurley has found himself out of the league, just 4 years removed from his MVP-type season. This prompts the question of what happened to Todd Gurley, and is his career over? This is Jimmy from Just the Facts. Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Todd Gurley, coming out of college, was one of the most highly touted running back prospects to ever come into the NFL, as the hype was there, and deservedly so. At Georgia, he was the first-team All-SEC player, rushed over 3,000 yards in his career, and finished with 36 rushing touchdowns, which was second in school history, only trailing the great Herschel Walker. With all that being said, Todd played in fewer games each year at Georgia, from 14 in his freshman season, 10 in his sophomore season, and only 6 in his junior year. His junior season was a weird one because on October 9th, he was ruled ineligible by the NCAA for receiving $3,000 for his signed autographs and memorabilia. Therefore, he was suspended for the next 4 games. When he returned against their rival Auburn, Todd had 29 rushes for 138 yards and a touchdown, but he did end up tearing his ACL. And that injury effectively ended his college career, and that left knee that he suffered the torn ACL wouldn't be the same after that, as it gave him problems down the road. Despite the injury, Todd Gurley still ended up going in the top 10 to the St. Louis Rams, who were in rebuild mode. In 2014, before Gurley's arrival, the Rams were 20th in total yards on the ground, 17th in rushing touchdowns, and 17th in yards per carry. In Gurley's rookie season, the Rams jumped up to 7th in total rushing yards, 6th in total rushing touchdowns, and 6th in yards per carry. So in that way, Todd had already exceeded the mediocrity that was Jeff Fisher to some degree. The king of 7-9 managed to fulfill that record one more time in 2015. The only thing that wasn't mediocre on the Rams that year was, of course, Todd Gurley. After missing the first 2 games of the season due to him still recovering from his ACL injury, he returned in week 3, but he had a forgettable game. However, in just his second NFL game ever, Todd had a breakout performance, putting up 19 carries for 146 yards in a win. The next week, Gurley decided to have another huge performance, going for 159 yards. And then the next week, going for 128 yards with a touchdown, and then the week after that, he ran for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. That 4-game stretch by Gurley made him the most prolific rusher in the back's first 4 games of their career. He did end up rushing for over 1,000 yards and became a Pro Bowler in his rookie season, so the future was indeed looking very bright. The following year was pretty disappointing, as the Rams dipped from 7-9 to 4-12, with Jeff Fisher being fired mid-season. Gurley's numbers had dipped significantly, but in hindsight, that was a blessing in disguise because the firing of Jeff Fisher and the atrocity of the 2016 season allowed the Rams to go out and pick up a young and up-and-coming coach in Sean McVay. With the new revamped Rams offense, Todd Gurley became the sole focal point of the offense, and that led to great things that year. The Rams as a whole jumped from 4-12 to 11-5, making it the first time the Rams had hit double-digit wins in over 13 years, going all the way back to the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk, and Torrey Holt. This first-year surprise by McVay prompted him winning Coach of the Year and Todd Gurley winning Offensive Player of the Year. After only having a little over 1,200 total yards of offense and 6 touchdowns in a sophomore slump, he bounced back, having over 2,000 total yards to go along with 19 touchdowns, and this established him as one of, if not the best running back in the NFL at the time. Unfortunately, the Rams were young and lost in the wildcard round to the eventual NFC champ Atlanta Falcons. The next season, the Rams had a chip on their shoulder after that disappointing loss in the playoffs. With it being the second year under Sean McVay and the system, the players got even more comfortable, which culminated in a great year all around, for the most part. They went 13-3, which was tied for the best record in the league, and Todd Gurley had another MVP-type season, going for over 1,800 total yards to go along with 21 touchdowns in only 14 games. Not to mention, in that summer, he became the highest paid running back in the league at the time, signing a 4-year, $60 million contract extension, $45 million guaranteed. So you might think everything went great that year, right? Nope, check again. During the first 8 games of the season, Gurley averaged a whopping 25 touches per game and only recorded a game under 20 touches one time. But check this, in the final 11 games of the season, including the playoffs, Gurley's touches dipped in half to a little over 13 touches per game, and he recorded 7 games that were under 20 touches. The question is, what happened there? Why would the centerpiece of the offense be limited to half the amount of touches he's supposed to have been getting? At the time, there was no report of him being injured or anything like that. So why was Todd Gurley underutilized down the stretch of that season? And why hasn't Todd Gurley been the same ever since that season? Well, first of all, let me point out that in the NFC Championship game against the Saints that was handed to the Rams on a silver platter, included Todd Gurley rushing the ball only 4 times for 10 yards. Let me repeat, 4 rushes for 10 yards. CJ Anderson, who had just signed with the Rams a couple weeks prior, was getting 20 plus touches in a divisional game versus the Cowboys and 16 carries versus the Saints. And in the Super Bowl, Todd Gurley didn't do much better. He had 10 carries on 35 yards. During that season and the playoff run, Gurley and the Rams insisted that there was no injury involving his lack of playing time and touches. In fact, Sean McVay had said after the NFC Championship game that Todd Gurley wasn't getting as many carries, not due to injury, but due to him not playing well. Weeks after the Super Bowl, fellow teammate and running back CJ Anderson had this to say on Todd Gurley's situation.
So he can go.
How hurt was Todd when you got there?
He was more hurt than what we thought. He was, the injury was a little bit more than what everybody in the building thought, including himself.
The injury was worse than what everyone in the building thought, so Gurley was injured. It was his left knee, which was the same left knee that he had suffered the torn ACL on a couple years prior. There was also some reports that stated that Gurley had developed arthritis in that left knee, and it was bothering him as the season went along. So the next question is, why was the $60 million star running back not taken care of when he was clearly not looking right? Even if it was a minor knee injury, hold him out a couple other weeks of the regular season just to make sure he's healthy for a Super Bowl run. I don't know how accurate former running back Maurice Jones-Drew is on this topic, but he was on NFL Network and told us that he spoke to Gurley, and Gurley actually said that he was injured in week 1 versus the Raiders. So this whole situation was a complete mess and was handled as poorly as you can handle any injury situation by team and by the player. Both sides could have been smarter and more precautious. Now, from his rookie season in 2015 up until the end of the 2018 season, Todd Gurley averaged 78 yards per game and 4.6 yards per carry, compared to 2019 and 2020, him only averaging 51 yards per game and only 3.6 yards per carry, a sizable drop-off. In 2019, Gurley was healthy, but he didn't look the same at all. He failed to record a single game over 100 yards, the Rams failed to make the playoffs, and he was cut. In 2020, he tried revitalizing his career by going back home to Georgia, but that didn't work out too great. Same as the year before for Todd, no 100-yard game. Although he stayed relatively healthy, the Falcons missed the playoffs, and after that, the Falcons let him go. And now, Todd Gurley is a free agent with seemingly no team interested in him at this point, not even the Ravens. It's pretty insane to me how a guy can go from an MVP candidate for 2 seasons straight and be out the league 3 years after that stretch. Hey, on the bright side, Gurley did get his money before the injuries started to kick in at least. With all that being said, we do know that running backs have the shortest lifespan in the NFL due to the physicality at their position, getting hit on damn near every play. It's sad to see because running backs are some of, if not the most exciting players in the league every single season, but hey, this is what these guys sign up for. But y'all let me know, does Todd Gurley have an NFL comeback in him, or is this it? Who really knows how healthy Todd's knee is at this point, and maybe it's too bad to the point where he can't even be serviceable, but I hope that's not the case. With that being said, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see next on the channel. More NFL videos on the way.